Welcome to the jungle. No, that's not a good intro either. And it's not the jungle because it's the newly acquired kingdom of Sweden that I'm welcoming you to, and to my channel and roleplay playthrough of Crusader Kings 3, playing as King Frej of House Corp. So in the last episode we claimed the kingdom title, and now we are holding court here in our Jardim of Västergötland. That's our starting province and our base of power. We're down here now in Hildeson, just up the river here, and all our vassals in the land has they've come to my court to pay homage to their king, Jarl, or King Frej, I should start to call him. He's a bit of a reluctant king. He was happy with being the Jarl here, and he really had no interests in these lands up here to the north. But as you know, if you've been watching before, the legendary character Chieftain Björn Ironside of Östergötland, House Munse, that's a famous historic house. He claimed the kingdom and declared himself king of all of Sweden. And King Frej here, he couldn't have that. I mean, he like he told his wife in the end of the last episode, if the choice is between ruling or be ruled, I'd rather rule. So that's what he's doing. And now he's holding court. And between episodes, I took a look around to see what kinds of problems we might have, and what we can do to administer this new kingdom of ours. So to start with, this royal court was a new addition for me since last I played the game, and I really liked it. It's full of I'm sure there will be more people here eventually, but it's full of our courtiers and closest vassals and all that stuff. And I'm really looking forward to be able to hold court, which will cost me prestige that I currently don't have. I think I spent it by having my men-at-arms raised for quite a bit during the War for the Kingdom. But what I wanted to do was to increase the standards of the court, because King here is a generous man, and he surely wouldn't want to have, bland food, last century fashion. No, he wants a nice court. I mean, we don't have much income, and this costs money, but I mean, we are Norse raiders, so if we can't earn the money ourselves, we just have to go raid for it to uphold certain standards at our court. We want to look fashionable in Norse standards. Can only imagine what that fashion would be. I guess you can see a bit of it here, what's the style we prefer, but let's go from, I mean, this is so 700s, right? We at least want to look like people did back in the 850s. Now it's 867. So we can call it The game says it's outmoded, but let's do a retro fashion at the court of King Frej here. There we are. One supplied. It will cost us some money. I mean, we can afford to spend. Alright. And we want, as I understand, we want our court grandeur to be at least 4. Here we have bland food. Oh, we can't have that. We will need at least modest food for a court. I mean, some spices. I mean, come on, let's go get some salt and pepper at least, you know. Guests are well fed with adequate local cuisine. That sounds alright. Apply. Oh, that's more expensive than the fashion. Oh, our income is so small lodgings. Yeah, we can keep that for now. There's not too many people in our court. We will improve that when we have a better income. Very few servants. No, I don't want to run a deficit, because even if it doesn't look like much, before you know it, you have red numbers here, and your realm starts to quickly fall apart, and we don't want that. We are currently ranked 27th in the world, and there are, understandably, a lot of royal courts who are greater than that of the Swedish. That is no surprise that the likes of the Byzantines and the Lotharingians and the Bulgarians and all those kind of people who's had kingdoms and great civilizations for decades, for centuries, you know, they are far more grandeur than our little remote outpost in the north. But there we have it. The king's first command is to increase the level of fashion and food at his court, and we will start to look into getting artifacts and all this stuff as the game progresses. But yeah, I was also managing the realm is perhaps not something that King Frej here is too happy about, but I, the player, think it's one of my favorite parts of the game. You know, making sure that the realm is nice. And I saw up here that we have a chieftain, Ragnar, who wants to come into the fold. He's up here in Medelpad, and he feels threatened by Jämtland here, and perhaps his neighboring chiefdom of Ångermanland, or maybe even from the Sápmi people up here. Whatever the case, he wants to be a vassal of Sweden and pay allegiance to the new king. So we will offer him to become a vassal. And taking a look at the realm, we have down here in Småland, we have the most powerful guy of House Njudunge. He was the former Jarl before Frej here took the title from him. And we have Bersi of House Trolli here. He was our champion and a great fighter who was rewarded with this chiefdom when we conquered it in an early episode. We have House Auster here in Finland, who is a vassal that we inherited from Björn when we when we won the war and took the kingdom. And the most powerful guy below us now is the Jarl of Bergslagen. He's of House Borg. Jarl Tyke Ivarsson. He is, except for us, the only Jarl, only one with the title Jarl, which means that he's got vassals of his own, and he's the leader of this great house in the Duchy of Bergslagen here. Björn himself is a vassal of ours now. He's the chieftain of Östergötland, and he's neighbored by 3 other chieftains. His former vassal, there's Rikulfur of Ulfing, and there's this house Narking here with the chieftain Sörkvi. So the more vassals you have, the likelier the chance of them getting up to mischief is. So what we want to do is, what Jarl Frej is going to do is he's going to create another Jarl and another Jardim, and that will be the Jardim of Östergötland. Here's Västergötland and here's Östergötland, and he will grant it to one of these 3 here, and by doing that the other 2 will be vassals of the Jarl, who in turn will be vassal of the king, and the king will only have to deal with one who is the Jarl of the duchy. So let's start by creating the duchy. So it will cost us gold, and it will give us prestige, which is a good trade, because gold we have plenty and prestige we are in the deficit in prestige, and for a tribal character prestige is more important. So it's a win for us to create the duchy here, create the title. So now there's a Jarldom here, and one of these 3 will be named Jarl. So the choices are our former enemy. It's Björn here. We could make him the Jarl. I'm sure Jarl Frej, even though he thinks that Björn here is a fool for declaring himself king, I'm sure that he has a respect for the Munster name and this formerly great house. So he could be thinking, maybe I should forgive Björn here and grant him a Jarldom. That's one option. One other option is to elevate one of these smaller houses to the Jarl title. And here we have Narking. He's a shy, chaste and callous person. Jarl King Frej doesn't like him at all. I mean, his personality doesn't gel well with ours, so let's not make him the Jarl. And then we have Rikulfur Hildeson, House Ulfing. He's a zealous, chaste and content person. He might be the most boring guy in the kingdom, and therefore he might King Frej might be thinking that, oh well, surely this chaste and content man won't cause us any trouble. So I think we will make Rikulfur of Ulfing Jarl. He was the former vassal of Björn, and now he will be his liege, and Björn will be kind of buried below the Jarl here, and hopefully don't cause less problems to us, because he still wants our title, and he's understandably disgruntled with King Frej for a lot of reasons. So we don't want him. He's at court here now, and when we've assembled the realm, and he goes around muttering, and he's all mad, and he's stressed because he lost his kingdom and his wife has died, and he's not a nice person to be around at the moment. Maybe this great house can rise again through one of his sons, so I hope they survive, but for now let's forget about House Mun. So King Frej will grant Jardim av Östergötland to Rikulfur here. Here we are. Now he likes us quite a bit because we gave him the Jardim, but he still wants a place in the council, and that's the next thing we will take a look at, council, because we can do some stuff here. First we need a spy master. And who might be the best one here? But he would be a much better marshal, and Rognvaldel here isn't very good at his job, and he hasn't done anything during the campaign to distinguish himself or get noted, so I don't think that Jarl Frej is too worried about replacing him. They're not friends, and I mean, he's been a decent marshal, but now we have better options who are better suited for it. Or maybe I should make Tyke Ivarsson here, the Jarl of Bergslagen, the marshal, because he is nearly as good as Rikulfur, and he is maybe it could be Stu. No, that's the new Dunga guy. So, but he's not really good at anything else. So assign Jarl Tyke Ivarsson as the new marshal of the lands, and Chancellor here. I don't want to replace Hjartvard, even though there really are no better choices. But because Hjartvard here has managed to be noticed by the Jarl and now King during the campaign, there's been several occasions where word has reached that Hjartvard's diplomacy has made people around us like us better and think better of us. So he has done really well this far, and if nothing happens that changes that, the Jarl wouldn't consider replacing him, even though there are more powerful men who thinks that they should have the council position. So Hjartvard stays. And I suppose we don't really have any good intriguing characters, so the job will go to the new Jarl of Östergötland here. He's a bore, so he won't cause much trouble. As spy master, he won't do us any good either, but for now you are the spy master, which means that most people around here, they kind of like us. He doesn't like us that much, and we really want him to, because he's probably the most powerful vassal in the realm. So let's try to sway him to like us better. And we also hold his son hostage. Yeah, here he is. It could be good to keep his son and heir in the prison. I think that the Jarl will keep him there for a bit and maybe ransom him later down the line. We are under the concubine limit. That's not good. Our lustful Jarl here. He has Pyri. But apart from that, I think he had one more concubine who died in childbed. The only one we can get is a Riksgårdi here, but she is a chaste person who is not at all interested in being a concubine, and the king doesn't want a concubine who's he's surely not a rapist, you know. Even though I'm sure a lot of Vikings were, I don't want my King Frej here to be one, unless he develops into something cruel and sadistic and perverted down the line. That's out of my control, but anyway, let's not get into that stuff. So, and we also have to nominate a successor to the throne, because we inherited the Scandinavian elective succession law when we took Sweden, and we will vote for our player heir, son and ward, because that's the obvious choice, our eldest son. Cast vote for Starkare Freyson Corp. So all the vassals in the realm are eligible to vote, and then they can vote for any one of my children, and they can even vote for Björn here because he has a claim to the kingdom. But let's hope that they will see the sensibility in continuing the line of Corp on the throne. Yeah, that's right. I had court positions as well. I wanted to take a look at those. It is here. I have physician and a champion. What else do I want? Antiquarian will enable me to reforge and repair artifacts, which is interesting because we now have artifacts, our banners, and we want more, but there are no people in the realm who has any aptitude for the job. There's no one who would be good at it. Could we have a court tutor? It might be good to educate our children. My champion here would be a good choice because he's got a decent learning skill and he's patient. And Astrid here would also be good because of her learning skill and patience. Gyrida would be good as well because she's a really learned person. Or I could make my concubine. Those are the best choices. So who should I choose? Who is Njal? He is a random courtier and a champion. He's no one of note really. And Astrida, she is intelligent, which means that the Jarl surely has noticed her. She has a daughter with Jatfather, our diplomat in the council. It's annoying that I forgot what chancellor. So I think that we like Jatvad, who's done a good job for us, and we have been impressed with his wife Astrida's intelligence. So, and she's good at many things. She's a good steward. She's an excellent. She's got excellent martial skills. She's also more than a decent fighter. And she's a brilliant strategist. She would be a great choice to as court tutor to educate our young ones. Astrid, you are a court tutor. Congratulations. Bersier, who would be excellent master of the horse, because he has a high martial skill, he has high prowess, and he's also an overseer. He is busy ruling his own chiefdom though, but this is choice that fits well into the story as well, because Bersier was elevated to chief and founded his house Trolley here when Frej gave him the chiefdom of Nordmark. So maybe he should be recognized even more for his services, and apart from that he's excellent at his job, and that is appealing to me. So let's go get the master of the horse, a court jester. Maybe we will give this to Björn of Munster. No, I can't now because he's not my direct vassal. Court poet, that is interesting for King Frej here, since he is poet himself. If there are any good ones, no, it's just Piri here. She is a poet. Yeah, maybe, she's our concubine. She looks sad and depressed. She really doesn't look happy. Maybe it would cheer her up to be elevated to court poet and to be able to recite her creations at court. Yeah, we want a court poet. Here you go. That's not that expensive. Let's make Sif here, the wife of my champion Hjalmar, a court musician. It's fitting for a king to hold a feast. Let's just run the game past the end of the month and see if something happens that requires our attention before we send word to... Oh, here. Oh, it was good that I waited, because now our new vassal chieftain Ragnar, House Stake of Medelpad, can also be invited to the feast. Oh, and I became the culture head. That's great. We are currently focusing on onagers, which could be good if we want to go down south and conquer those stone castles down here. We surely would need onagers to break down the walls. Here are our current traditions. We have ting meat and malleable invaders, which means that we are better at creating hybrid culture. We can make shield maidens, we are coastal warriors, and we have the northern stories ones. Right, so, but here's something. Court event. A situation has appeared in your royal court that you can weigh in on. I want to do that. So what's happening here? A courtier is scorned. Participant, my champion Collar and my woman Piri. There's Collar and there's Piri. Let's click on this and see what happens. Why would you honor that doxy theory with a position at court and not me, says Collard. My champion Collard is livid. Apparently he had been certain that the honor would befall him and no one else, so I made her court poet, and he wanted to be court poet, and he is angry for it. So what would the king say? Would he say, oh, come off it? Or would he say, you are right, you do deserve a position? Or he could say, if you're gonna just like this, I should start paying you, which means I would make him a court jester. What would the king do? I think he would go for, oh, come off it. It will, he definitely wouldn't give him a job for being angry and complaining, you know. She was made court poet because she was the best available choice, and I surely looked at the food taster position that Collar here wants, and there was nothing telling me that he would be any good at doing this. So the king says, oh, come off it, and maybe Collar here will start to hate us for it. I wanted to hold a feast, that's what I was going to do, so let's get to it. It cost me 100, I have money. Send invitations. Let's see what happens at our feast. A cheery gathering. The guests are gathered in the great hall, lords and ladies from the near and far reaches of the realm. The mood is bright and spirits are high as the feast begins. Yeah, I would be in high spirits if I was invited to all this. There's good food and a roaring fire and welcome friends. Feast continues, and here's someone who's in awe. After extensive conversations over our delectable dishes, Chieftain Ragnar expresses that he finds me most learned and wise, and that my utterances are always of inestimable worth to those less well read than I. So Chieftain Ragnar here recognizes true intellect, I see. Collateral damage. I have barely managed to sit down at my seat when I hear a howl emanating from Chieftain Bercy. It would seem he and Chieftain Rolfer have really gotten into it, as Bercy is receiving a proper manhandling from Rolfer. Too late I realized their martial dance has paved its way straight through the house corpse banner. I motion for my guards to separate the two, hissing and clawing at each other. The duo is presented in front of me, all the while throwing blame on one another for starting the fight. So, what's happened here? Rolf Rögnvaldusson of Hälsingland got into a fight with Bercy of Nordmark, and they destroyed or damaged our house banner, which the king surely isn't too happy about. So will I blame Rolfur, or will I blame Bercy, or will I say these things happened, it wasn't my favorite piece? Well, there's nothing here telling who's to blame for the fight, and surely when people, you know, when fierce Viking chiefs get drunk, they get rowdy. So the obvious choice for the king, since I mean, he's a patient and generous person, he wouldn't start throwing blame around for when there's no evidence. So the obvious choice here is these things happen, it wasn't my favorite piece, which will means that they both get a higher opinion of me, but the durability of my banner has decreased by 10. which means it's not destroyed. That is good, and maybe I will have to hire an antiquarian later to keep it pristine. And I also get benevolent ruler, which increases all my vassals and courtiers and guests' opinion of me. That's good. Feast. As my guests depart, with everyone headed for their respective homes, I am proud to say that the feast was a success. I have my wife Sif to thank for much of its success, and I feel nothing but gratitude as she sees the last few guests off. Until next time, I gain prestige and everyone likes me better for throwing this great feast at our court. Primary heir of the wrong dynasty, that is not good. Oh, it's because people are voting for Björn as the next king. It would mean that if I died now, Björn would be elected king. I would still play as my son Starkadr here, but only as the Jarl, paying allegiance to Björn. That is the flip side of the Scandinavian elective system, but I really like that. It makes for interesting gameplay, and you can oftentimes tweak it to get your best choice, your favorite child on the throne. But for now, more people are voting for more people in the realm are voting for Björn here as the next king. I think it's because my son here, he's only a year old, and they don't think that a 1-year-old child would make a good ruler, and I think they are right. But King Frej here surely wants his son to inherit the throne, and we'll have to see what we can do about it. I mean, we can do one thing we could do is I probably could ransom his son for a hook, which I then could use to get him to vote for my son as the next king. Yeah, if I have a hook, I could force the votes, and he's quite heavy there. Maybe I will have to start to look into getting my vassals to fall in line and recognize my son as the heir. But for now, there's really nothing I can do. I mean, I could release his son for his vote, but that wouldn't tip the balance anyway, so I will save that option for later. Oh, here's a court event. Ready to burst. My daughter Audor and King and me. We are in a court event. This is funny. Here's Audor. She's the apple of my eye. My favorite daughter. She's charming and quick, and she's ready to burst. Far before I see tiny Audor playing in my throne room, I catch a whiff of an unmistakable smell. Oh, Papa, it is ever a joy to see you. As she rushes forth to embrace my leg, I feel the heft of her loaded diaper squash against my calf. As it begins to seep onto my ankle, I wonder to myself, do we really have so few servants that I must attend to the degrading task of changing the nappy myself? So the king here really loves his daughter Outer, so he's not too angry about it, but what can he do? Come into my arms, we'll get you cleaned up. I spend court grandeur and I get drenched in excrement for 30 days. Surely the king is able to clean off the baby's excrements, poop, in faster than 30 days. It's not good because it would. My wife will not like, or concubines won't like me for it. Or I could say I'd sooner lose a war than touch this filth. No, the king wouldn't do that. I mean, I was hoping that maybe I could hire some more servants, but he will spend court grandeur and he will change the diapers, his daughter's diapers himself, especially since he's really fond of this daughter here. So, but that taught me a lesson that our court needs some servant, but because he doesn't really mind changing the diapers of his daughters, but he doesn't particularly like it either, so let's get some servants. I see that we can afford it now. There we are. Let's also improve lodgings if we have some guests. So, and now I want to hold court and see what happens. Exercise your authority by holding court. That's what we want to do. Heir, petitioners. Sitting on my throne, I gesture for my guards to open the doors of the hall. A stream of people file in, some lining up in front of my thrones, while others move out of the way so they can simply observe the proceedings. After several moments, all movement in the chamber has ceased. All faces turn towards mine expectantly. In front of me, I count 3 petitioners lined up in an orderly row, waiting for me to call on them. Gesture for the first in line to approach, or on second thought, it's a beautiful day outside. Now I will call on the first petitioner. Open carry. 2 of my vassals are pushing one another and jostling to reach my throne first. Chieftain Svein bows before me. My lord, murder is wanton in the city streets throughout the Kingdom of Sweden. It would be civilizing if we instituted a ban on townspeople bearing arms, at least within city limits. Chieftain Rolfer kicks him out of the way. Safety is each man learning to protect himself. Banning carry of weaponry will castrate the townspeople. So Svein wants to prevent people from bearing arms in city limits, while Rolfer is opposed. So, what does the king think? He can ban weapons within settlement walls. It will increase control growth. It will keep murders and fights down, I suppose. Keep our swords, lest our realm weakens. Open weapon carry permitted. It will increase popular opinion. Or we shall solve this safety debate with violence. It means that the chieftains will have to duel to see who's who will win. So what would the king think? There's really nothing in his personality to guide me here. He's cynical, he's patient, he's generous, and he's lustful. He's also an insightful thinker, who's a scholar. He's a handsome man, he's quick, and he's a poet. So there's really nothing to say which way he would go. So, but I think that that he would. So Chieftain Sven of Öland, he's really a vassal that hasn't been his house cowping. We haven't really taken note of him before. He's there. He hasn't done anything to offend us or anything to impress us. And there's Rolf Rögnvaldsson of Hälsingland, House Skytte. We haven't really had any dealings with him either. So let's go with a ban on weapons within settlement walls. It will increase the controlled growth. So the next petitioner comes forward and says the end is nigh. As soon as it is his turn to speak, the agitated man in front of me screams, "The end is nigh. The signs are clear and everywhere. The people of Chiefdom of Murder know it all too well. Disorders, bandits, thieves, violence, and the disappearance of justice among men. Ragnarök is upon us. There is only one way for us to be saved. Renounce all vices, starting with the excess of alcohol and food. Repent now, for the day is nigh." So says Kjartan Stjärna. Kjartan Stjärna. I mean, surely if this is a Swedish name, it would be with the dots above the A here and pronounced Stjärna. Kjartan, I would call him Kjartan Stjärna of House Stjärna. So he's a wanderer, and he comes to our court with telling people to stop drinking and eating because it angers the gods, he says. And the king's reactions could be, the options are: salvation must be achieved through any means, or wise Kjartan, stay and teach me the way, or nonsense, burn this ravaging heretic, or take this fool out of my sight. So the king is a cynical guy and a learned guy, so he surely doesn't think, he's not getting panicked or thinking that, oh, he's right, the end is really nigh, Ragnarök is upon us. No, that's for sure that the king isn't thinking that. So and he definitely doesn't want to abstain from wine or mjöd or fruit, you know. So this is not an option. Or I could fire my riksgårdi and appoint Kjartan as my high priest instead. I would definitely want to do that because my riksgårdi has done a good job for me and I like her. I could burn him. Or I could say, take this fool out of my sight. I think the king is angered that this foolish man talking utter nonsense is coming to him with this. And the king, he likes his wine and his food, and he's also a lustful man, which surely means that he is not against vices. So this really angers him. In the king's opinion, the gods, if they are there, are surely not against people, humanity, enjoying themselves in life. No, that's not our gods. We will have a good fire and burn this ravaging heretic. Die, Jardim, die. That was a fun one. And here's the third petitioner. Dust to dust. A thin, raggedy peasant stands before me, gawking at the opulence of my throne room. Obviously distracted, I call him to get his attention. Oh, I'm sorry, my lord. My village in Dal was hit by a blight this year. We lost not only our crop, but our seeds too. We have nothing. We shall starve without help. Glancing around my throne room again, he adds, surely you have wealth to spare. This was a good one because it suits my way of speaking when I can read some. Oh, I'm sorry, my lord. Kind of sounds like how I speak all the time. So more foolish, uneducated peasants to my court for me to reenact, please. No well-spoken orators here, if I should be able to give them justice in a way. But let's see what the king thinks about this wandering Einar here. He's a peasant leader, so he's come here on behalf of the populace. I can give him the funds, 15 gold, which means I get pleased peasants. Or I can say your service will repay your debt, which means I pay him for I pay Einar here to work for me. If the fields are barren, you shall wield a sword, plowshares to swords. Well, the king is a generous person, and he certainly does have the gold to spare. So here you are, Einar. You will have the funds you need to rebuild. And hold court conclusion. As the last petitioner departs, various courtiers follow them out of the room, having business to attend elsewhere. Others remain, talking amongst themselves about the recent proceedings. Soon the ceremonial formality of the proceeding has dropped away entirely, with the hum and bustle of normal courtly life taking its place. My business here is done, says the king. Oh, I really enjoyed holding court. I look forward to more court holding. And with that being said, I think it is time to end the episode here. This was all about managing the realm, getting our vassals in order, holding court, throwing a feast. And in between episodes I will take a look at what to do next. Maybe we should go raid, get some more prisoners, and the king surely does need new concubines, and I will take a closer look at all the other options available to me as king here. So I will see you then in the next episode, but for now, bye and thank you so much for watching.